Well, the cars are lining up ready to go out for the third and final round of the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Pole position, Sycamore, and this is because of the reverse grid.
Yes, what we do is we actually pull a ball out of a bag in a sense, and basically we switch it around, so it's not always going to be the leaders on pole. So it should be quite interesting.
Exactly, so it's over to Andy to go through the rest of the grid.
Thanks very much, guys. Yep, cars are on the grid ahead of this third and final race of the weekend. It was the top 8 that were reversed from the results of race 1, meaning that it is pole position for Jack Sycamore alongside Johnny Greensmith on the front row. Simon Baldwin and Steve Roberts make up row 2 ahead of Aidan Hills and James Blake Baldwin. Jack Harding is on row 7 along with double race victor this weekend Luke Herbert in 8th on the grid this time, so he's got some real overtaking to get done. Row 5 for Gary Townsend and Sam Tatler. Nick Dunn and Alex King make up row 6 ahead of Will Stevenson and James Kell, then Alec Livesley and Lewis Carter, who was top 10 runner in race 1 but slipped back towards the end of race 2. Then it's Darren Stapleton and Nick Rutter, Mark Swarbrick and George Grant ahead of Tom Parker and Christian White, the first of our 2 non-finishers from race 2. Also non-finishers were Colin Bysouth and Carl Garnett after they made contact, of course, in the first race. And not only will they be working their way through the field, but they'll be doing it together and battling each other as well, with possibly a score to settle. So the red lights go on, and for the final time this weekend at Knockhill, we're away and racing in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. And who gets the jump from the front row of the grid? You put your money on Greensmith, wouldn't you? And that's exactly what happens. Johnny Greensmith sweeps across in front of Jack Sycamore and takes the lead down towards the hairpin, but it's 3 abreast further back. Look at Steve Roberts right round the outside of everybody to try and get second place. If he doesn't run out of road, that might just work. Well, he doesn't get second, but he will be third. There's Carl Garnett exploring the scenery very wide down at the first corner, and he will therefore already drop back behind his sparring partner from race 1, Colin Bysouth, who we are on board with now. But look at that, a roadblock in front of us. On the left there is Tom Parker. In the middle, I think, is the 35 car of Alex King, and another car joining in the fun as well. Is very busy indeed as they go down through Clark's for the first time. But it's Greensmith that leads the way. It's Sycamore in second. It's Roberts in third. Aidan Hills already up to 4th from 5th on the grid. Good start for him. Then it's 5th place for one of the Baldwins. Possibly that was Simon Baldwin, I think, rather than James Blake Baldwin. Further back there's Will Stevenson, who was a non-finisher in our first race of the weekend. Yes, it is Simon Baldwin there ahead of Sam Tatler, and then James Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert. Not really making the progress they'd have liked. There's a car sideways there. Yes, it was James King who might just save that, but that was the mother of all tank slappers coming out of the final turn. Leaders down the hill, and look at this, Roberts again trying the outside line. This is audacious, but he's sticking with it. This time he does get shown the edge of the road though, runs out into the gravel, and so Aidan Hills gets alongside him and might even be able to start challenging Jack Sycamore in front. So Aidan Hills is really making some good progress here. 2 wheels on the grass for Aidan. He can't do that. He really is one of the most spectacular racers out there, Aidan Hills. Very exciting to watch indeed, but sometimes there's a gap that is always going to close, and Aidan realised that then and had to back off the throttle. So he settles in line in 3rd, but he's already making more progress up the order than some of his sparring partners from the first 2 races, the likes of James Blake Baldwin, Luke Herbert, Jack Harding. They're all still mired down towards the tail end of the top 10, but Aidan Hills already in the podium positions. Good opportunity here for Aidan to try and get some championship points back, but he really wants to try and get past Jack Sycamore as quickly as possible. He carries much more speed out to the final corner, gets himself up alongside as they streak across the start-finish line. His nose is ahead as they cross the line. The whole car is ahead, in fact, before they cross the start-finish line, and he moves his way through into second place. That was all about building momentum up through that final sequence of corners, and he used it to perfection to take over that second place. Dropping down the hill, there's Jack Harding getting into the side of Sam Tatler's car. So Sam Tatler is up ahead now of the man who finished second in the second race. Colin Bysouth, you can see the amount of cars that he's already overtaken as well. So good start to the race here for Colin, who will want to use that second race of the weekend as his one of his drop scores for the season. Make their way back down into the chicane now, and Jack Sycamore now tries to defend this 3rd place from a very rapid Steve Roberts, former BMW Compact Cup champion, multiple champion in fact in that one make series. Made the move over into this one make series at the start of last year. Took a bit of getting used to, but he's more or less on top of the car now, and it's good to see Steve Roberts more and more competitive every time we see him. Makes his way out onto the pit straight. He will now be in the slipstream of the orange and white car of Jack Sycamore in front of him. Jack defending the inside line. Roberts may choose to go to the outside. He'll see if there's a gap on the inside before he puts himself in that position, but now has to go around the outside, and we know he's good on the brakes. As long as he stops stops the car. Yes, gets it stopped, and that was a brilliant move around the outside. That was pure confidence under braking that Jack Sycamore didn't appear to have, and so into third place goes Steve Roberts. Right, battle joined at the front of the field now between Johnny Greensmith and Aidan Hills. Aidan Hills is looking for his first win of the year, of course. Johnny Greensmith is looking for his first victory since Donington Park 2 years ago. In a wet race, Donington Park for Johnny Greensmith, who took his last victory. He's only actually ever won 2 races in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup since his return to the championship, and he might not win this one if Aidan Hills has anything to do about it. That was a real lunge up the inside for Aidan, but he wasn't quite close enough to do it. But yeah, Johnny Greensmith doesn't necessarily win all that often, but he is ultra consistent. He's always the one picking up the points 9 times out of 10. That puts him in championship contention come the end of the year. It's not just about winning races. We know that helps, but if you can't win, you need to make sure you finish the race in second or third or fourth. Just score as many points as you can. Oh, Steve Roberts now goes up the inside of Aidan Hills there, though, for second place, and this could get interesting. Steve Roberts is on an absolute mission in this race. He gets himself alongside, but Aidan will try and fight back, I'm sure, as they make their way down in towards Clark's. Back on board with Colin Weishaupt, not that far up the road, our race 2 front runners, so he's already got himself on the fringes of the top 10 as Colin. Not bad from 23rd on the grid. How much further can he climb up the order? That is the question. Down into Clark's. Beautifully done through there. Whoops, his car off wide. Was that Townsend or was it Alex King? There are 2 cars with similar liveries. One of them went off into the gravel, but does rejoin, thankfully, without getting beached, therefore, without requiring a safety car. Colin Weishaupt picks another one off. Leaders back through, and Aidan Hills, I thought we'd lost him there. He was took so close up behind Johnny Greensmith, so he's held on to second place, and he's now going for the race lead. And is there a gap up the inside line down towards the hairpin? There is! Aidan Hills going for the race lead. They're going to make contact now. Oh, 2 wheels on the grass for Aidan Hills. He has to back out of it. And here comes Steve Roberts. Don't forget about me, he says. I'm quite happy to go right round the outside, and it might just work. Wheel to wheel once again with Aidan Hills now for second place, and Jack Sycamore starting to buy back into this as well in fourth. Wheel to wheel then. Inside line for the next corner will belong to Aidan Hills, though, and that might just be enough for him to hang on to this second place. He needs to make sure he doesn't run wide on the exit, though, which he does. Nicely done. So still Greensmith leads. Hills second, Roberts third, Sycamore there in fourth place. Then a sea of blue cars fighting over fifth place because you've got both the Baldwins, and they've now been split by our double race winner Luke Herbert, who is starting to make his presence felt in this race a little bit more. Turning the way back up the hill towards the end of a lap. I need to see which of the Baldwins that is in front. I think it is still Simon, isn't it? Yes, Simon Baldwin doing a really good job there in 5th position, 6th for Luke Herbert, and it might have been Jack Harding up into 7th. Let's look in the background to see whether Jack has got himself... oh no, I beg your pardon, that is James Blake Baldwin in 5th. I beg your pardon, it is car number 4, not 16, that's got his way into the top 5. Leads back down the hill. Aidan Hills this time tries the Roberts line round the outside. The inside didn't work for him a lap ago. What about the outside? Nothing doing. He runs out wide into the dirt, and this time surely Steve Roberts has got the job done. Can he move across to defend? No, he can't. And well, Aidan Hill seemed to get good traction out of the gravel there coming out of the hairpin. That was remarkable, and he still hangs on to that second place. So Aidan refusing to relinquish second position, but look at how this queue of cars at the front of the field continues to grow. 8 cars in total now, stretching all the way back to Simon Baldwin in 8th place, are in contention for the podium places, and it's all getting very lively through the chicane as Aidan Hills is throwing the number 8 car around left, right and centre with wild abandon as he does everything he can to keep Steve Roberts behind. Steve looks maybe a little bit quicker at this stage of the race, but of course Aidan will say that he's getting held up by Johnny Greensmith in front of him. Back out onto the pit straight they go, and Luke Herbert now becomes the man to watch. He's already into 5th place. He now wants to try, sorry, into 6th place, beg your pardon. He now wants to get another place away from James Blake Baldwin. No, I was right the first time. He's 5th. Blake Baldwin is 4th because Jack Sycamore's fallen down the order. Hard to keep on top of this race. Blake Baldwin goes to the outside of Roberts there into the hairpin. Roberts is into the back of Aidan Hills, and Luke Herbert says, yes, please, I'll pick up the pieces here. Gets himself up alongside the 2015 champ, but can't make the move stick. So yeah, Jack Sycamore, the orange car, slipping further down the order, unfortunately, which is, I guess, what you'd expect from a reverse grid race. Jack, although he's a quick Mazda MX-5 racer, hasn't yet won a round of this championship. Oh, Roberts sideways. How on earth did Steve Roberts hang on to that? There might have been contact from Blake Baldwin, and that stacks the whole field up. Up the inside line goes Luke Herbert in towards the chicane. Roberts is on the grass. Oh, rejoins, bits of bodywork trailing, and he's still in 3rd place. Blake Baldwin has another look up the inside. Still can't find a way through. This is proper Mazda MX-5 SuperCup racing. This is why we love this championship so much. Who said you can't overtake at Knockhill? We're getting plenty of side-by-side outside racing. And yes, it's not easy to overtake, but in a way, that makes the racing even more exciting because the drivers are really having to work for it. George Grant's off in the gravel, that's down at Clark's corner, and that might mean that we get probably a much needed breather because I think the safety car might be needed to recover that car. Side by side again for third place there, and James Blake Baldwin's in the dirt, and Luke Herbert gets up the inside of him. Now that was Blake Baldwin trying to go around the outside of Steve Roberts, who was always going to run out to the edge of the road and take Blake Baldwin with him, which he did. And so Luke Herbert now takes full advantage, moves his way through into fourth, sticks his hand out of the cockpit because there are yellow flags down at Clark's because of George Grant's stricken car. Is this going to require a safety car? Surely it will. We've had cars in similar positions all weekend, and the safety car's been called for. It's not the news the top two will want to hear because they're starting to pull away, but yes, the safety car is being scrambled, so we get a chance just to put these battles on ice for a moment, get me an iced drink because I need to cool myself down after what's been a dramatic opening half of this race. Remarkable racing, but Johnny Greensmith, hard to believe, has led this all the way through. We've had all this jostling going on behind him, but Greensmith has weathered the storm so far and has been able to hang on to the race lead. So back across the line they come then. Greensmith leads, Hill second, Roberts third, Luke Herbert fourth, and that was a timely move to get himself up ahead of James Blake Baldwin, who will fall down to fifth position. And so more points will be gained by Luke Herbert, who is now third outright in the championship. Remember, he was joint third with our current race leader, Johnny Greensmith, after race 1. After race 2, he is now into third place. George Grant's car is going nowhere without a tow, so this will be at least a couple of laps behind the safety car, presumably, although the 4x4 is already on hand. So the championship lead, oh, that was all a bit close there between Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert. The championship lead is held by James Blake Baldwin, although he finished behind Jack Harding by a position in race 1, so he lost 2 points in theory to Harding in race 1. But Blake Baldwin set the fastest lap, and fastest lap is worth 2 points. So actually, they scored exactly the same amount of points. So the gap stays as it was, 3 points between Blake Baldwin and Harding. And then a further 5 points back to Luke Herbert in third, who is 2 points clear of Johnny Greensmith in fourth. But of course, Greensmith now leads this race. Herbert is down in fourth, Blake Baldwin is fifth, and Harding is sixth. And so you can see how the championship ebbs and flows from race to race. Even if you win the first 2 races, the guarantee of the grid reversal for race 3 means that you'll always have a bit of work to do to hang on to the advantage that you gained. And because, as I mentioned in race 1, the points go down in 2-point increments, so even if you win the first 2 races, say your nearest championship rival finishes in second place in both races, you'll only gain 4 points on them. If they then beat you by a couple of places in race 3, your whole weekend's work goes down the drain and they end up closing right back in on you. So it's a tight championship scoring system, and it keeps the championship nice and tight, which is why it almost always goes down to the very last race of the season. Of course, we do have dropped scores to take into account as well as the year goes on, and they drop their 3 lowest scores. So if you have 3 non-finishes, you don't count those results basically, and so whilst drivers can slip down the order at this early stage, once we start applying drop scores a bit later on in the year, it all gets a little bit more interesting as certain drivers maybe come back into contention even if they've had a bit of a bad start to the year. The one thing you don't want to do is get a race exclusion though, because if you're excluded from a race you can't count that as your drop score, and that's what befell a few drivers including Jack Harding in 2017. So the lights are out on the safety car for the first time this weekend. It's not the first safety car restart we've had, of course. We've had safety cars in all 3 races thus far, but for the first time it's not Luke Herbert who will be leading the safety car restart. It's Johnny Greensmith, but he's a very experienced campaigner, former Porsche champion and MX-5 champion before that, but has yet to win the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup since he returned to Mark III MX-5 racing a few years ago. He makes his way now towards the end of another lap, and Aidan Hill's latched right onto his rear bumper. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left of this race. Can Aidan Hills find a way through to take his first win of the season, or could Johnny Greensmith take the victory? None of the top 3 have won yet this year, and in fact, in second and third place drivers have never won at all in the championship. So here we go. Aidan Hills is locking bumpers with the leader as he tries to push the pair of them clear of the chasing pack over the hill, and look, it's worked, and that now means that Aidan Hills can go to the outside line free from pressure from the cars behind, gets a nice exit from the corner as well. Is that enough to get him up alongside Greensmith? Not quite. And so Johnny hangs on to the race lead. You can see the big ding in the nose of Aidan Hill's car. He had a bit of contact. I think that was on the opening lap of the race, but several drivers had a bit of contact early on. You can see the witness mark on the rear of the third place man, Steve Roberts' car, after he had some contact earlier on, which pulled the rear bumper loose. top two already starting to make their break now as they launch their way into the chicane again. A bit more tentative over the curbs this time around, but Aidan Hills is looking close. That wasn't tentative though. Uses all the curb, has a big look up the inside, and still Greensmith hangs on. Oh, big slide there, big slide, and that's lost him a lot of momentum. Aidan Hills under all sorts of pressure now from Steve Roberts, who goes up the inside of him. They're three abreast though. Luke Herbert gets up the inside of both of them. Hills is on the grass. Roberts is slow off the corner, and Luke Herbert could come out of all of this in second position out of nowhere. Yes, he has. Herbert goes second, and Blake Baldwin goes with him. Or does he? Roberts is good on the brakes, remember, down into the hairpin. He tries to fight back round the outside line, wheel to wheel through the hairpin. He's on the dirty side of the road though, and through will go Herbert. Through will surely go Greensmith, Blake Baldwin, and possibly Jack Harding as well, because the three of them working in tandem there have all got up the inside of Steve Roberts, who's recovering from his gravelly moment. And yep, through they all go. Well, that all kicked off with that big moment for Aidan Hills. He just lost it, or almost lost it over the curb, lost the rear end of the car, saved it, but that killed his momentum, and it's very steeply uphill there, of course. So Roberts saw the opportunity, got up the inside, but then they both compromised their line through the final corner. Hills went onto the grass, Robert got sideways, and Luke Herbert, using all of his years of experience in Mazda MX-5 racing, just charged up the inside and got past the pair of them. Beautiful driving, and all of a sudden that changes the championship picture once more, because Luke Herbert is now into second. In fact, Herbert, Blake Baldwin and Harding have all gained out of that, of course. They've all gained 2 positions, and so Johnny Greensmith, race leader, not looking like he's going to take quite as many points out of them as we first thought. Roberts trying to fight back though, gets up the inside of Jack Harding, nearly pushes him through the hairpin. As they come out of the hairpin though, it is still going to be the 43 car ahead, and Aidan Hills joins in as well. Aidan Hills gets himself up alongside Steve Roberts as they head down towards Clark's, gets his nose in front, but he's on the outside line into the next corner, and Roberts will not back down from the fight. He holds tough on the inside line, clips the curb, runs a bit wide though, and Aidan Hills gets the switch back, side by side into the chicane. One of you is going to have to back out of it, and it's the car on the outside that most likely will have to, and that is indeed the case. So Steve Roberts backs out of that one and hands the place back to Aidan Hills. So all of our heavy hitters starting to make their way back to the front. Not that Steve Roberts isn't a heavy hitter, but he has yet to take a victory in this championship, and unfortunately his best chance that he's had for a while has maybe gone by the wayside now. Back over the hill they go. Caught a glimpse there of the orange car of Jack Sycamore. Also saw Carl Garnett and Colin Bysouth come through the picture. They're working their way towards the top 10 from the back of the grid. But it is now Luke Herbert looking for his 3rd race win of the weekend. And this would well and truly put him back in championship contention. Out of the hairpin we go. But the top 3 are tied together by an exceptionally short piece of string. Don't count James Blake Baldwin out of this one. We've seen him making some fairly aggressive manoeuvres this weekend. But how much of a risk will Luke Herbert be willing to take here? He's already got 2 wins in the bag. The last thing he needs is to make contact with Greensmith and either end up out of the race or in the steward's room at the end of the race and facing a penalty. That would be the worst thing that he could do. Second place is better than a non-finish. Having said that, he's coming under so much pressure now from Blake Baldwin behind that Herbert might have no choice but to go on the attack. Attack might be the best form of defence here. If he can get past Greensmith, you'd imagine he'll probably have the pace to pull away. Back up the hill they go. Nice wide line into the final corner there for Herbert, but he actually doesn't quite turn in early enough. Misses the apex. Still carries good speed onto the pit straight though, so Greensmith has to pull over to the inside line, hugs the white line, and he's confident here in the fact that Herbert won't go to the outside of him, because if Luke were to do that, James Blake Baldwin would fill the gap up the inside line. It's James instead who goes to the outside line, but he now faces the same trouble from Jack Harding behind, and Harding gets himself level for 3rd. But we've seen all weekend long the momentum is with the driver on the outside line through the hairpin, and that is the case on this occasion as well. And not only does Blake Baldwin hang on to the place, but actually almost seems to gain a bit of speed on Luke Herbert coming out of the corner. So it stays as it was. 5 cars for the lead though. Greensmith, Herbert, Blake Baldwin, Harding and Aidan Hills, who you can never count out of making a move, is there in 5th place. Bit of a look up the inside there for Harding in towards the chicane, nothing doing. Use a bit of the grass, use a lot of the curb. Anyone make a move into the next braking zone? No, not on this occasion. Simon Baldwin, incidentally, is now leading the next group of cars in 6th. There he is, so he's found a way past Steve Roberts as well, who's down to 7th. So a bit of a shame this for Steve, who really felt that this weekend he could possibly get himself up onto the podium at the very least, as he managed to do last time out at Silverstone in the first race of the season. Down towards the hairpin we go again though. All of them very, very careful to hold that inside line, with the exception of Aidan Hills, who's at the back of the train and therefore has no one to defend from. We've seen Aidan's got a quick car this weekend, so he could yet make his move at least to the 4th place, even if the podium's not reachable. But they're all a little bit held up here by Greensmith, and Herbert thinks there's a gap up the inside into Clark's. Johnny Greensmith persuades him that actually no there isn't, and so Herbert backs out of it again. Harding once more though is the driver who's quick out of Clark's, has a look to the inside of Blake Baldwin. Blake Baldwin chops across his nose. It's Aidan Hills, incidentally, who set the fastest lap in this race, but it could yet be beaten before the end of the race as Luke Herbert launches over the curb there, and I thought was going to take off completely as he made his way into the end of another lap. But yeah, so Aidan Hills has the 2 points for the fastest lap. So as things stand, well, who knows what's going to happen with the championship. It's all going to get very close anyway, but I think that Blake Baldwin will hang on and will extend his margin over Jack Harding. But where will Luke Herbert be in all of this? Well, he could yet win the race because he's still right on the boot lid of the number 2 car in front of him. Aidan Hills again is the one going to the outside here of Jack Harding. But even if you get round the outside, you're always going to get pushed to the edge of the road, and that's what happens, and Hills is off again. Oh, what a shame for Aidan. Well, you can only try and go round the outside of someone so many times into that hairpin before they shove you out into the gravel, and this time around, that's what Jack Harding did, and so Simon Baldwin and Steve Roberts both get themselves back ahead of Aidan Hills, and all of that hard work is undone and needs to be done again. But unfortunately for Aidan, he's fast running out of time because I believe this might be the final lap of the race. They make their way back down through the chicane, and it looks as though Johnny Greensmith might just be able to hang on. Oh, there's almost room up the inside, but no, nothing doing for Herbert in second. Greensmith runs wide over the curb. It's going to be a bit of a drag race out of the final corner here, and they're so close together, and the slipstream takes such an effect here that you can possibly draw alongside before the start-finish line. Down towards the start-finish line they go. Is there a checkered flag for them this time? No, they're going to get one more lap out of this by the looks of it, and so Greensmith will have to go very, very, very defensive down on the brakes in towards the hairpin. Herbert's not really close enough though, and didn't dare take to the outside line. Jack Harding does though, and really gets the switchback manoeuvre. 2 wheels on the gravel there as he turns so tight on the exit of the hairpin, trying to get the overlap on James Blake Baldwin. Behind you can see Aidan Hills coming back at Steve Roberts as they run, I think, side by side down to Clark's. Yes, they do. Hills is on the outside line though. That's surely never going to work. Oh, bit of a lock-up for Roberts though. He runs out a bit wide, but he sort of ushers Aidan Hills out wide with him. So status quo remains, and there is no change in the order. Look at that. I will never get tired of that shot of them appearing over the top of the hill at the chicane at such speeds, sideways in mid-air. It really is one of the most spectacular circuits in the country, and I think the drivers have all thoroughly enjoyed running it in its reverse direction. They come back out of the final corner though once again, and this time surely we will see the checkered flag flying for Johnny Greensmith, who heads towards the start-finish line, and yet there it is. Johnny Greensmith finally takes another race victory in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup to put himself firmly into title contention. A brilliantly judged lights the flag victory for Johnny, but that makes it sound a heck of a lot easier than it actually was. He wins from Herbert in second, Blake Baldwin third, and Jack Harding fourth. The top 4 separated by 0.6 of a second only in Mazda MX-5 racing. 5th is Simon Baldwin, 6th for Steve Roberts, and Aidan Hills down in 7th. He'll be disappointed with that. Then it's Sam Tatler, Jack Sycamore and Lewis Carter rounding out the top 10. Then it's Carl Garnett, Colin Bysouth, Nick Dunn, Will Stevenson and Alec Livesley in 15th. Then James Kell, Darren Stapleton, Christian White, Tom Parker and Nick Rutter ahead of Gary Townsend and Alex King. The only retirement was George Grant. Mark Swarbrick unfortunately failed to make the start.
John, it's been a while since we've been able to have a chat with you. Congratulations on your first win of the season, but it was certainly hard fought.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just wanted to win this year. Weren't expecting it this weekend, but that I'll take all day long. Hard work, especially with Luke and James coming up behind me, and Aidan who was pushing me most of the way as well, like, and that. So yeah, spot on it with that. Spot on.
Good to see you back on the top step, and looking forward to Brands.
Yeah, another challenge. It's going to be a short circuit, so it's going to be tight. So I need to be qualifying a lot better than what I am doing at the minute. So I need to get my act together, pull my finger out.
Well, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Luke, huge congratulations in second place. All I can say is what a move that was.
Yeah, I mean, starting 8th, I said to the team at the start, you know, we're just, as long as we finish the race, it doesn't matter where we finish, we just need the points and the car to be straight for Brands. So I sat back, but then, you know, when the action was kicking off in front of me, I was just picking off people as they were going off the track, left, right and centre. So, you know, I got to second by playing a safe race, just getting lucky really. You know, anyone could have won it. You know, there was some drivers who got unlucky out there. But yeah, that second definitely felt better than the wins because I had to work for it from 8th. Really had to work for it. So yeah, really, really ecstatic.
Brilliant. Well, we can't say a bigger congratulations. Well done.
Thank you very much.
James, a tough race, but you've come through third place, third of the weekend.
I know, 3 thirds, yeah. It was a difficult race, and everyone was just driving really, really well. They defended really well. Such a hard place to pass, but I think we've extended our lead in the championship, so can't ask for more than that, really.
No, and it's going to be a tough battle throughout the rest of the season with you, Luke. You know, how do we call this?
Yeah, I know, it's getting quite epic, really, isn't it? And we're only at the second meeting, so I've already decided I'm going to be a train spotter next year. Far more relaxing, I can drink beer, that's it.
Well, congratulations, we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thanks very much.
Well, that wraps up the action from Knockhill for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup.
It has been a true testament to the Mazda driving standards here this weekend, and we hope you join us again in our next round at Brands Hatch.